Okay, so this is my Birgi Infinite Mill deck. So we got 4 copies of Lunar Veteran, 4 copies of Birgi God of Storytelling, 4 copies of Grinning Ignis, 4 copies of Pestilent Cauldron, 4 copies of Sanitarium Skeleton, 4 copies of Impassioned Orator, 4 copies of Poison the Cup, 4 copies of Meathook Massacre, 4 copies of Loaf's Spider Queen. We have 4 copies of Bright Climb Pathway, 4 copies of Silver Quill Campus, 4 copies of Snowfield Sinkhole, 4 copies of Light Step Pathway, 4 copies of Lorehold Campus, and 4 copies of Needle Verge Pathway. I gotta get the mana fixing right, because we have 3 colors in here. We got white, black, and red. So we got 24 lands and 4, 5, 6, 24 creatures and 12 non-creatures. Alright. So right here on this side, it's you got your main 4-card combo for the mill strategy. So there's already gameplay showing this combo in action. Yeah. So interesting thing, something I thought of recently, that what I normally would do is I try to play. Well, I try to play if I want to do this like turn 4 or like turn 4. I would want to play Birgi God of Storytelling first. That way on turn 2, I can play Veteran for 1 white, right? And then I'll produce 1 red, so I get that mana back that I use, and then I have that 1 red plus, 2. I have 2 mana left. Because think about it, I have 4. I use 1 and get back 1. Then I use that 1 and 2 to play Ignis, which leaves me with 1 land left. And you want that land to be black for Pestilent Cauldron. And then you use Ignis's ability. Because remember, once you play him, you'll get a red mana from Birgi. So you have 1 red mana floating, and you have 1 black land untapped. So then you use the red mana to bounce Grinning Ignis back to your hand, which will give you 1 red, 2 of anything, right? 2 colors. So you can play him again and then get the red mana and bounce it and just keep doing it over and over again. So you can infinitely play Ignis over and over again, which will, while you have Veteran, you'll gain a life every time you do this. You'll keep getting a life every time Ignis come into play. Since you gain a lot of life, let's say your opponent has 50 cards in their deck, gain 50 life, right? Then then you bounce Grinning Ignis for the last time to your hand, because you want to get the 2 colors in the red mana, so you want to have the 3 mana back, right? Then you're going to use the 1 black mana you have, the 1 black land you have, tap that, use the 2 colorless from Ignis's effect in order to play Pestilent Cauldron, right? Pestilent Cauldron, you see its second effect is you pay 1 mana, tap it, each opponent mills cards equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. So, since you got 1 floating red mana from Birgi's ability, from Ignis's ability, you'll use it to play this and tap it and mill your opponent for how much you gain. Since you gain 50 life, your opponent will mill 50 cards. So that's the basic strategy there. A turn 4 mill, OTK, whatever you want to call it. So something I recently realized, that I could play Ignis first. Sometimes I will have 2 copies of him and only 1 of her in my hand, and I'm like, the second copy is useless. Sometimes I'll play it just so I can use it as a blocker. But when I think about it, it's like I should play it so I can try to bounce it, get its effect the following turn, because then I'll play my 4th land, which should be a black land, right? And then for 1 red mana, bounce this back to my hand so I can get 3 mana and still have 3 lands. That's a total 6 mana So I have 6 mana on turn 4 if I play Grinning Ignis on turn 3. Something I didn't think about before. I just use them for the combo, obviously. So I want to get her, then play him, so I can infinite loop. But to play him first, right? Then play her second. So I bounce him back to my hand for his effect. He creates the mana necessary that I can use to play her. Right? I play her. I'll still have mana on the field to be able to play Ignis. So then you can play Ignis and have him on the field. Produce, play him, get the mana, and you can just keep bouncing over and over again. And get the combo off that way. Or start bouncing him back and forth, and that's how you can get both of these out in the same turn. Which means if you play your Impassioned Order or your Veteran, if you play them early before you play your Ignis, so you get them out, then one or the other. You don't need both, but if you get both, one after the other, that's good. That's just more life, and you'll gain life faster that way. So you get them out, right? Then play this. Of course, because you play that, you'll gain life for them. Then the following turn, you'll be able to bounce them back to the hand. On the 4th turn, right? Bounce back to the hand, play her, play him, get the mana back, and then do the infinite stuff and just start gaining infinite life. And that's if you're just trying to get out like the infinite life combo real quick. So that's just something nice to know. Not only is it useful in that regards, another thing about playing him early is the fact that you can meat hook. You can pump more into meat hook using him, right? So let's say you play him on turn 3, then turn 4, play another land, preferably black, right? And hopefully we have 2 black, right? We tap 1 red to bounce him back to our hand, so we have 3 mana. Right? We'll have 3 mana, and we'll have 3 lands. We pay 2 black plus 3 mana plus the extra mana, so a total of 4. So we'll have I said 4. We'll have 6 mana altogether on that turn that we can pump right into this. 2 black and then 4 of anything. So on turn 4 you can do -4. It's typically on turn 4 the best you can do is -2, right? 2 black, 2 of anything. But with this, with Ignis, you can actually do -4. So you can pump, 6 mana into this card. 2 black, 4 of the any mana, and you can do -4 for this. So you can do, a pretty good board wipe on turn 4 if you need to. That's what I'm saying. If you need to, sorry, setting this up turn 3 and then turn 4, dropping this. Minusing 4 to your opponent's board is nice. So just some synergy I'm starting to notice. Obviously, stuff that I haven't tried yet, but it's just what I was thinking about. Like, oh wait, I can use this and make mana. Like I was trying the Ignis thing to try to play cards sooner. Another thing about using this is the fact that it gives you mana. So you gotta think the logic of it. Like it gives, if I play it right, it gives me basically Dark Ritual, right? It'll give me 3 mana on top of whatever mana I already have, and I can play big spells sooner. So it's like, okay, if I play this right, I can play big spells sooner. For example, I can play something that will, I can play a 6-drop on turn 4, which is a very powerful ability. So Ignis definitely has other uses besides the infinite cast combo. Obviously, if we had Storm, this would be busted because we just infinitely do this and then play some Storm card and just go off, right? And I checked to see if there's any Storm cards in this format, but there isn't. So that's not a possibility, but you get the idea. So these are your main 4 combo cards to mill. It depends on the situation. Typically, what I do is I try to get the infinite life combo. Obviously, if you wait long enough, you could play all these cards. in a single turn. All you would need is 7 mana, if I'm right, altogether. Give me a second. No, what am I saying? Let me go back. Because I haven't done this count yet, right? So if I have 4 mana, I bounce them back to my hand for 1. Which will give me the mana necessary to play her. So I still have 3 lands. If I tap 1 as white, get that mana back, then I could play. Okay. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Alright, just making sure. So I can do infinite life if I play Ignis first, and then next turn play her and him. Play her first, then play him, so I can get the 1 mana back, and then that'll allow me to play Ignis. And then I can just do the infinite life. So there it is. That's how the order you have to do that in order to gain infinite life. Now you won't do infinite mill that way, but you do infinite life at least. And then next turn you can just play this hard cast and then just go for the infinite infinite mill. Infinite mill on turn 5. But if you do Birgi first, and then do these 2 the following turn, then you can do infinite mill on turn 4. It just depends. The problem with this a little bit is that this is a very important card and you don't want to lose it by casting it and then just have it get lightning bolt or something. You don't care if this thing gets killed, because you can always get another copy. Right? It just, from my experience, when I play this, people are quick to get rid of it. I guess because they're like seeing some of the cards of the deck and they just think that it's probably used for something else and don't realize that it's for this combo. That's why it's like I'd rather play Ignis first, so if they see Ignis and I have played. I've been trying, playing Ignis and see what happens. Playing it first, see what happens with other decks that I have Ignis in. Some people have, killed it. Some people haven't. So I mean, if they do, that's a waste of a kill spell. But if they don't, they don't. But typically, you definitely want to play this first and then go off. If you have the combo, that's the way you want to play her first, and then next turn you'll be able to play the other 3. So that's just how that plays itself out. But if you wait long enough, so you can play all 4 of these in the same turn, it's the better route, because that helps you avoid anything. One, you always want your opponent to be tapped out. You don't want them to be able to counter spells, shock, play some type of kill spell. You don't want them to interrupt your combo, right? Because this is a combo, right? So you don't want them to interrupt. So you always want to wait until they're tapped out and then truly go off. But sometimes I get fortunate enough that I play this, end my turn, my opponent plays something, so they're tapped out and they attack or something. I'll just take the hit. Doesn't matter, because I'm going to gain infinite life, so it doesn't matter how much damage I take. I'm going to gain it all back. And then just go off. Sometimes I don't have the mill, I just only have the infinite life, but it's like, oh, well, I was well gain 100 life or 1,000 life or something. That should help me stall long enough to get, the rest of my combo pieces, and then get to a turn where I can play all 4 of these cards in the same turn and then mill my opponent out as my win con, right? So there's that. This is just an added, it's like having a 4th copy of Veteran, just to guarantee that I always have something that I can play and do these 2 together and gain infinite. That's all. Sanitarium Skeleton, it's a reusable, chump blocker. Once you have 4 mana, and for some reason, let's say you can't get any more than 4 mana, at least you can stall by paying 3 to add this back to hand, pay 1 to play it, and just keep doing that every turn. And you always have something to block with every turn. And if you have Meat Hook on the field, every time your creature dies, your opponent loses 1 life, so it helps you in that regard. Like you could, just keep blocking attacks and slowly hurt your opponent's life points in the process with Meat Hook's ability. Obviously, you could play Meat Hook just for 2 black mana, just to get it on the field and get the effects of the card. So, like I said, of course, if you have Veteran on the field, or you have in Passion Order, obviously playing Skeleton over and over again, playing it, gaining a life, blocking an attack, gaining a life every turn, blocking an attack is a simple, basic little line of play you can do to, try to stay in the game longer. If you have multiple copies of veterans or overtures to, gain more life every time you play, you do a skeleton trick over and over again. That's always good. Pestilence Pageman has the ability where you can tap it to discard a card and create a 1/1 black-green pest creature token. But when it comes into with the effect, when this creature dies, you gain a life. So that right there creates a similar result to this. You can constantly create a chump blocker. What's really cool, obviously, Skeleton not only serves the fact that you can reuse him, it's the fact that you can always add him back to your hand for 3, and then discard it for Pestilent Cauldron to make that 1/1 token. And the 1/1 token already has the ability to give you a life every time it dies. So you're block, gain a life, block, gain a. So it has just this, and the skeleton has a similar effect of playing one of your life gainers and your skeleton over and over again and blocking attacks. The added benefit over playing this over and over again and just using a discard outlet for this card is the fact that the token gains your life, and when you play the token, you're gaining life from your life gainers. So you'll pretty much get 2 life every time you do that. Or if you have multiple copies of these, you get 2, 3, 4 life. So it's a lot of life, low life engine. Just pointing out synergy there. And the last ability of this artifact is pay 4, tap, exile 4 target cards from a single graveyard. I used to think it's up to, like, you take some from your opponent and some for yourself, but I realized in the game it's like, oh, it has to be a specific graveyard. Typically you want to target your opponent's graveyard, you don't want to target your own. Just keep exiling their stuff and, draw a card. So it's a draw engine on top of the fact that it's a mill engine, on top of the fact that, it's a token generator, so it's very versatile. Another thing to keep in mind is the fact that it costs 1 to tap to get the mill. The mill happens based off of how much life you gain. So if you have your little life gain, little engine going, where you're playing this and gaining life, you can just tap 1 and then mill your opponent for 1 or 2, depending on how much life you gain. And you could be milling them for 1 or 2 cards a turn. You can combine this with Meat Hook. When Meat Hook, when one of your creature dies, you gain a life. So once that happens, you gain a life, and then you can pay 1 for this and make your opponent mill a card. So that way you can just slowly interrupt their ability to draw anything good. Maybe get lucky and mana screw them over, but they keep drawing stuff that they can't play and they never draw land, or vice versa, or the opposite. They keep drawing nothing but lands, but never draw anything they could play. So that gives you a little element of control there. So that's always good. Draw control is always good. Controlling your opponent's draws. That's what she said, right? Of course, poison the cup. Destroy target creature. If you foretold, you scry. I always try to make sure I foretold as soon as possible because I want the scry. So, but sometimes I just flat out play for 3 and kill something that I need to get rid of right there and then. But I always try to scry, and the goal is to scry for lands. You always want to make sure you don't get mana screwed. You'd rather be mana flooded than mana screwed, right? You want to have more than enough mana to play your strategies. You definitely want to get to 6+ mana, lands, so that we can play your main deck's combo and strategies. Definitely want to be able to play her out for 5. Meat Hook definitely want to play it for big numbers. As I said, the more mana you put into it, the more you get out of it. That's why getting like an Ignis out more, like getting 2 Ignises out in a single turn. Oh, not single turn, like get 2 Ignises out, like play 1 on turn 3 and then play another one on turn 4. Right? That way, on turn 5, you can do a big Meat Hook Massacre play. So that's a line of play you can consider. Because imagine that for 2 red mana, you can instantly make 6 mana that can be pumped into this thing. Not to mention the fact that you have turn 5, okay, 2. You have like 1, so you can do 7. 7 plus 2 blacks. So 2 blacks and 7 for the X, and do -7 on turn 5 if you play Ignis back to back. You can do -7 to the board. And the cool thing is the Ignises won't be on the field, so you'll do this, clear the board, and then the following turn just start playing them again. So that way, you know. So it's something cool. That's something cool to consider, right? The fact that they can dodge the meat hook and help you, you know, get ready to facilitate other plays later on. But that's pretty cool. The fact that they can definitely help you lose a lot of mana. I definitely want to do something later. Eventually, figure out a way to create like multiple copies of this card, right, and then bounce them all. Just imagine making a whole bunch of copies of these, and then use the red mana to bounce one, and then because it creates one red mana and two colors, use the red mana to bounce the other one, and you'll create shitload of colors mana. So definitely looking into figuring out how to create that. Moving on, Loaf Spider. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a loyalty counter on Loaf's Spider Queen. She has a 0 ability where you draw a card and lose a life, so she's a draw engine herself. She has a -3 ability. Create two 2/1 black spider creature tokens with menace and reach, which are two really good effects to have, especially on the token. So I always play her at -3 more often than not. Get the tokens out there and use the tokens to protect her, so that way I can start using her 0 ability to draw a card every turn. And with the life gaining capabilities of this deck, I don't have a problem losing a life to draw. It's worth it. And you know, trying to draw into your combo pieces so you can go off, all that good stuff. Oops. So the synergy there. I've never done her -8, so it's irrelevant. We just used the -3 right off the bat and the 0 effect to dig into our deck for the stuff we need. And of course, like I said, the lands are just for mana fixings. You always want to, always play this first, because it comes into play taps all year into the battlefield lands. You always want to play them first. And you definitely want to get at least one white mana source out there, right, for your veteran and your impassion, and then a whole bunch of red mana. See if I'm right. It's first is to want to play like Campus, for example. You want to play that. Then after the second turn after that, you want to play black land. Yeah, you want to play a black source, because that could let you play a skeleton if you need to. Then after that, another black source that will help you be able to play Poison the Cup, hardcast it, or since you played the black energy, well, if you play black on turn 2, if you don't play skeleton, you'll want to Foretold, and that way you can get the Scry ability. That way, turn 3, when you play either another black mana source or red mana source or whatever other source, then you'll still be able to play this for the one black one of anything, and get to Scry, and hopefully hit another land, another black source. Because you want at least a minimum of 2 black, so it's white, black, and then after that it's just red, because it works really good with Grinning Ignis if you have multiple red sources to keep bouncing back to your hand. But I've done a scenario where I had a veteran or a orator on the field, and all I would do was just bounce the Ignis back to my hand, play it, bounce it back to my hand, play it, bounce it back to my hand, play it. Just play it a couple times, depending on how much I had to do it. Sorry, how many red mana I had to do it. So if I had like 3 or 4 red mana, I could just play them 4 times, right? Technically 5, right? Something like that, and then gain up to 4 or 5 life. Which can help me stay in the game longer, because if I'm not blocking that much and all I'm doing is gaining life, taking hits, it helps me stay in the game long enough that I can hopefully get Birgi, and then go infinite life, right? Go gain 100,000 life or something, 100 million, whatever, right? In this game, in the app, MTG Arena, it won't let you go that far. I get lucky if I get to 50 life or a little bit higher than that in a single turn. It always tries to prevent me from going that far. Sometimes it times me out and ends my turn, so I never get to fully abuse the full extent of the combo. Especially if when I want to mill, I want to gain 50 or more life in a single turn, so I can mill my opponent, entire deck. But the game literally tries to stop me. Sometimes I get lucky, my opponent's deck is like under 40 cards, so I don't have to gain too much. I can gain 40 life and then mill them out. But when it's higher than 40 cards in their deck, then that's when the game starts trying to screw me over and make it hard for me to do the combo. So in real life, you can pull this off. You can just be like, oh, I gain 50, 100, like whatever. Play Cauldron, mill you out. Simple. But the game is hard because you literally have to do this action over and over and over again, and the game tries to time you out on that. Tries to punish you for trying to go infinite. So there's that. What else to say? Not much else. It's pretty simple, straightforward. Got some spot removal. Got board wipe. Got token generator and draw engine. Obviously, me hook with Spider Queen. Got good synergy because you'll make the tokens. Use the tokens to block so they can die, and since they die, you'll gain a life. So that way you're able to stall that way. And of course, since if you have the Cauldron, you're gaining life, you can mill your opponent. So then you can do a mill strategy there. Slow mill, but still a mill strategy. And at any given time, you can do infinite life. Then you just do the infinite life combo, and then just trigger the pestilence for one, and bang, mill your opponent out. So that is the Birgi infinite mill deck.